Square Enix's latest installment, Final Fantasy XVI, is a story about brotherhood, bonds, and a race against time. To say this game's story is just good or okay would be an understatement. Now don't get me wrong, Final Fantasy XVI does have its flaws and its moments. Sometimes those moments can be slow-paced and boring at times, compared to other times where it's just and there's some moments where it's just, what the fuck just came out of this dude's mouth?
Why, the beast has the appetite of a behemoth. Just this very morn, I found him with his nose buried in my nuts.
Something I felt that never got stale, tedious, or boring was the combat. With gaining new abilities from icons, which is better known as summons from previous Final Fantasy games, it never got old and let up for new combos and ways to attack your enemy. If you like zoning, you could use Ramu with his lightning abilities to attack from afar. Or say you lean more towards counterattacking. You can use Bahamut with his swift counterattacks that are great when being overwhelmed by many enemies. And for anyone who likes to attack head-on, fast, and aggressive, there's Phoenix, who's able to teleport to any enemy to lead up for some great combos. On top of that, you can also alternate between all those three icons I just mentioned, plus 5 other more you can put between your 3-way rotation of your choosing, that have their own unique abilities that I can talk all day about. Now, something that I wasn't expecting to come across on my first playthrough was falling in love with the icon battles so much. With having just the right amount of being interactive, fast-paced, and very intense at times, it always had me on the edge of my seat. Even beyond the gameplay in these icon battles cinematically, they're executed in a way it feels like you're watching a blockbuster movie while playing through these sequences. To say the least, I feel these fights are what make Final Fantasy XVI so unique and stand out from previous Final Fantasy titles. Final Fantasy's world for the most part is linear. While progressing more and more through my playthrough, Final Fantasy XVI's world always gave me something new to look forward to, whether it was a beautiful coastline, a luscious desert oasis, or even a ruined castle. For the most part, it never disappointed and always had me in awe, and was also really something nice to admire and take in. But leaning more towards the story. It was a fantastic one to play through, but at times the pacing could get pretty slow, I felt. There was never really a time though I could recall where I had to go out of my way to grind, or level up for a certain boss or a section of the game, which was a huge relief considering this is a JRPG. On another note though, Square Enix did one hell of a job portraying and showing the bonds and relationships between these characters, especially Clive and Joshua's bond, where Clive will do anything to protect his little brother Joshua from harm's way, as Clive feels guilty for not being able to protect Joshua at an earlier point in the game when they were both younger, whereas Joshua at times feels like a burden to Clive, and reminds Clive that it's not just his fight or his duty to solve the world's problems by himself, but to solve them together and help take the weight off of Clive's shoulders. A big emphasis on the game's story that I loved was Sid and Clive's relentless fight for freedom. In the world of Final Fantasy XVI, they heavily rely on magic for simple everyday things, to kindling a fire or drying clothes. People born with magic abilities are very few in the world of Final Fantasy XVI and are called bearers. Therefore, they are taken advantage of, and the majority of the time enslaved by high powers, or their magic abilities until they've overused them and die of exhaustion at a young age. But Sid and Clive seek to fight for a world where bears aren't enslaved or mistreated, and in their oath, to live and die on their own terms. I believe Final Fantasy XVI has something for everyone. Whether it's a wholehearted, lovable cast of characters, gameplay that'll leave you on the edge of your seat for hours on end, and a captivating story I feel Square Enix hasn't produced this amazingly in a while. I'd say it was definitely worth to play through.
A sky of scattered tears, 1,000 years apart. Should they fade, I will not be afraid of the dark. For your flame still burns inside me, deep within my heart, showing to